Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true?
That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
So that was from about a month ago, and those emails now back under the microscope. Conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch revealing 44 previously unreleased emails that appear to blur the line between the Clinton Foundation and the State Department while Hillary Clinton was in charge. Remember now, Clinton defending her own actions on Fox News Sunday 10 days ago, saying that she trusted the people around her to make the right decisions.
I relied on and had every reason to rely on the judgments of the professionals with whom I worked. And so in retrospect, maybe some people are saying, well, among those 300 people, they made the wrong call. At the time, there was no reason, in my view, to doubt the professionalism and the determination by the people who work every single day on behalf of our country.
With that as a backdrop, here is Larry Klayman, founder of Judicial Watch. He left the group 13 years ago, but he's also the attorney representing the family of Tyrone Woods, one of those killed in Benghazi in September 2012. Larry, good morning to you. I just want to make some very direct questions, Bill. Okay? Did the Clinton Foundation, on behalf of Bill Clinton, use connections to the State Department under Hillary Clinton to gain favor? Yes or no?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a modus operandi of Mrs. Clinton and Bill Clinton. Back in the early 80s, excuse me, in the late 90s, I uncovered at Judicial Watch that they were selling campaign contributions for access to the administration. This is nothing new. This has been a pattern of practice. And after I left Judicial Watch, I started Freedom Watch. You can find that at freedomwatchusa.org. And we have a RICO complaint up there, racketeering, about her pattern and practice of selling access to government in exchange for campaign contributions.
Larry, let me stop you. It's a strong charge. You sued the Clintons many times in the past. What is the proof? Give me a case where a favor was returned.
Well, we've seen it just in the emails that came out most recently, but we've been seeking documentation. And Peter Schweitzer was on earlier on Fox and Friends. He has documented the sale of access by the Clintons to the State Department for favors. That's called bribery. One of the things that we've been looking at Freedom Watch is the sale of waivers, that is to do business with Iran, who wants to wipe out Israel, the United States, as the great Satan, in exchange for contributions to the Clinton Foundation. We drew an Obama judge who hasn't forced the State Department to turn anything over, but Hillary Clinton was in charge of granting waivers to companies doing business with Iran, and Peter Schweitzer has actually put that in his book.
Larry,
so there's a lot out there.
Give us a down-the-line interpretation of this. If this is true, as you allege, what's the danger?
Well, the danger is that our government's for sale. The danger is that these individuals who have made large contributions to the Clinton Foundation own the Clintons. They will call in the favors if she's president of the United States, as they did in the 90s when the Chinese were involved with the Clintons. They helped finance their campaign for re-election. This is nothing new, and the Clintons are perhaps the most corrupt couple. I call them the Bonnie and Clyde of American politics ever to have occupied the White House, and now they want to do it again. The United States is at great risk.
James Comey, FBI director, declined to answer when he was asked whether or not the Clinton Foundation was being investigated. Is it or not?
I don't know whether it is or not. You know, James Comey, I've worked with him on some cases. He's a nice man, but I believe that he didn't do what he had to do there because, frankly, if he had recommended prosecution against Mrs. Clinton, the Democrats would have blocked him from any future appointment. He is a political animal. His term at the FBI will end, and I believe that he basically was looking at his own interest and not the United States. I regret to say that, and I think people have lost confidence in the FBI.
Another strong statement. That's what you're saying about James Comey.
Correct.
Wow. The Clinton team says this on screen. Neither of these emails involve the secretary or relate to the foundation's work. They are communications between her aides and the president's personal aide. And indeed, the recommendation was for one of the secretary's former staffers who was not employed by the foundation, end quote. You've seen that. Your reaction?
Well, I've seen it. Uma Abedin obviously is very close with Hillary Clinton. She's probably one of her top aides along with Cheryl Mills. She's her facilitator. So when you hear Mrs. Clinton say, gee, these professionals did the right thing in classifying information and I didn't know about it, These are her people. These are her cronies. It's part of the whole Clinton team. It's part of the whole Clinton corruption. And I might add that, the Clintons, there's no crime that's beneath Hillary Clinton. Back in the late 90s, when they had to turn over the administration to George W. Bush, Mrs. Clinton even tried to steal White House furniture. We uncovered it at Judicial Watch. She had to bring it back.
We have reported that on that before, but back to the present-day issue and final question. These were 44 emails that were not previously made public. Larry, how many more emails are there that will be made public?
Well, we're still seeking many at Freedom Watch that haven't been produced, and I suspect there are literally tens of thousands of emails that have not been produced. The FBI has to have them. If this agency does not have the sophistication to get them off her private server, frankly, Bill, we're in a lot of trouble when it comes to fighting terrorism and everything else.
Larry
May
Klayman,
explain some of the attacks that we've had.
Thank you for your time. I'm out of time today in Los Angeles.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.